A tribute to my father. No one can mess with me when I'm in my bullfighting hat. These were my father's words, spoken to me in his signature witty smile, the last full day we spent together. I just returned from Bilbao, Spain, with a gift. An authentic Spanish hat that they wear during bullfighting competitions there. Initially I hesitated to buy it because I already bought him another gift, but something told me to turn around and go and get it, and I did. When I placed the hat atop his head, in his favorite spot in the garden, he adjusted it, felt the brim, and then he immediately lit up, and he said, "I feel like a bullfighter already." Then with that familiar twinkle in his eye, he said, "No one can mess with me when I'm in my bullfighting hat." That was the Chebukati the world knew. Strong, resilient, full of conviction. You couldn't mess with him. But through my eyes, you will see him as simply the best father a son could ever ask for. In my formative years, my father instilled in me a deep sense of responsibility. While growing up in our home in Nyali, he entrusted me with the responsibility of managing staff salary and other procurement matters. Each month, I would prepare a budget, present it to him for approval, collect the funds, disburse the funds, and ensure that every employee and casual appended their signature upon receipt. To him, it wasn't just about the arithmetic. It was about the understanding of the value of labor and the dignity of fairness. These skills would later prove invaluable in my career, and this was my dad, the nurturer. On to my high school years, and it was just the two of us in Mombasa during my examination year. The rest of the family had since moved to Nairobi, but my dad stayed behind to allow me to complete my studies. It was a special chapter, and we settled into a routine. Takeout became our staple. We had Mabakio Mondays, Terrific Tuesdays, Tika Wednesday at the golf club in Nyali, and so on. But eventually we agreed that that wasn't sustainable, and so we started to cook together. He would occasionally bring back mudfish following his hearings in South Coast, and I would experiment with every way possible to make it taste palatable. Those who know mudfish, it is one of the most horrible fish you can try and eat out there. Nevertheless, he would go and make the ugali, and in as much as the seafood wasn't always great, the conversations over those meals that we had were priceless. This was his way of guiding me. It was never forceful, but gentle, trusting, and with room for me to grow into my own choices. That was my dad, the companion. Driving was another bond that we shared. It started in Mombasa, where I often chauffeured him around, and over time I naturally became the designated driver of the family, much to the displeasure of my two older siblings. Together we traveled thousands of kilometers, Mombasa to Nairobi, Kitale, Njoro, the Great Rift Valley and beyond. He was always in the passenger seat, guiding me with his steady voice. Of course, road trips weren't without their hiccups. Whenever I hit a pothole too hard or took a turn too fast, my mother and siblings here behind me would grumble from. However, one evening on the 19th hole at Royal Golf Club, and the golfers know which hole the 19th hole is, I told him that I was going to resign. He was excited at first, assuming that I had gotten a better opportunity, but that wasn't the case. He asked me sternly, "How can you leave a job before you get another job?" But when I told him I wanted to pursue a master's degree at Carnegie Mellon, he was at peace. Instead, he wholeheartedly supported me by immediately buying me an air ticket, preparing for my school fees, and giving me his blessing, including driving me to the airport. And this was my dad, the champion of continuous learning. While at Carnegie Mellon, he kept close tabs on me, regularly popping in during his work trips. He was proud when I was elected to serve as vice president of the Student Guild and sworn into office on the same day that he assumed office at IABC, and coincidentally the same day that President Donald Trump assumed office in the United States. One time when my mother and he visited, I had a few friends over for dinner. He asked that we have a group dinner, and unfortunately 15 people showed up. They were all excited and eagerly deeper to meet Chairman, people from varying nationalities from across the world. They just wanted to come and say hello. Later on in life, when he completed his term of office, he was gifted, he had earlier been gifted a Rwandan traditional stick called an inhoni, given to great warriors. And when he completed his term of office, he came home, took off his tie, and he reached for that stick. To me, that was symbolic and a poignant reminder that the impact of leadership transcends borders. My dad also supported me in business. When I started my business in Rwanda, we needed some money to secure some premium office space. And so he loaned me Kenya shillings 620,000, interest-free for 12 months. When we repaid him as a company 1 month early, he was proud. But when he learned that the bank had flagged the transaction as suspicious because I was supposedly the son of a politician, he was absolutely furious. The same bank later on refused to open a business account for one of my businesses, citing the same reasons. His response? He closed his own accounts with the bank. Much to the frantic calls of all the managers, he ignored them, hung up on them, and proceeded to close his accounts with that bank and moved his salary account elsewhere. This was my father, principled, protective, and unwilling to let his family be mistreated. You couldn't mess with him. As my life in business grew, I would regularly consult him, and he would regularly challenge me, given that, after all, he had been in private practice for over 30 years, so he knew a thing or two about business. One evening, following another sitting at the 19th hole, he insisted on escorting me home. I obliged, excited to finally get to show my dad my apartment. He entered and I gave him a customary tour. Kamwambia, ona TV mzee, iko pale, ni sawa. Iko sofa set hapa, wacha nikonyeshe fridge, and so on. I was very excited to have him over. And then later on we sat on our balcony, and with my chest proudly out, I said, I've achieved all this because we've got a good client and they're bringing in a certain amount every month. He looked at me, smiled, and with this typical quirky smile, he said, only. Hiyo ni kidogo. Double it. This confused me. I was expecting a pat on the back. Well done, son. Congratulations on what you have achieved. But here he was challenging me to do more, to be more, and to achieve more. I'm proud I had the opportunity to report back to him that I successfully doubled it as he had initially wished. As time went on, my hard work was recognized and I was invited to CMU to receive an award. This is a prestigious award that only 100 alumni out of 100 have received. My parents insisted on coming with me, and indeed he said, you're coming with us, or rather we are coming with you, and you're flying in business class with us. Following that trip, the initial symptoms of his illness began to show, and subsequently the rest, as the eulogy has been read, speaks to that. But after his first surgery, his dedication never wavered. I had the privilege of staying with him in months as he recovered. In those months, we took daily walks, brainstormed on talking points, and prepared for his upcoming engagements. One of them was the EIP presentation, which he delivered with much aplomb. And again, it was just the two of us in Germany for about 3 months, just as it was in Mombasa many years back. Because that is what was available to us out there. When we left Germany, we executed our strategy. I had the privilege of traveling with him to the 2023 Economic Symposium in Abidjan, to South Africa in Cape Town, and to help him prepare for his presentation in Lisbon, Portugal, where he received an award. Despite his condition, he prepared diligently and delivered all these engagements with poise and aplomb. He barely needed talking points. He was speaking from his lived experience. In his final days, my father was surrounded by love and peace. We rallied resources for his care, we safeguarded his well-being, and we made sure that a family member was always by his side. Indeed, nobody could mess with him. Not in life, not in his final moments. Rest well, Dad. I will carry with you your lessons with me. I will carry your lessons with me forever, and keep your heart safe. A symbol of the wisdom you wore so effortlessly, the strength you carried with quiet dignity, and the path that you charted for me to follow. Thank you.